Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the series for the OrthoSpine Hub podcast. It's a pleasure to have my first guest today with me, Billy Albans, who's the VP of Global Marketing for Medtronic Spine and Biologics. Billy has got an excellent career background, having spent nearly 24 years with Medtronic, so clearly they've been looking after him quite well. So it'll be interesting to see how he's found that journey throughout and get his own perspective into what makes an entrepreneur successful. Billy, over to you. Do you want to give us a brief introduction?
Yeah, Sasha, thank you for having me. Looking forward to engaging in this conversation and appreciate the opportunity. Again, my name is Billy Albans. I'm based out of Memphis, Tennessee. Been working for Medtronic pretty much my entire career, and it's been a great journey and a lot of exciting stuff happening in the spine industry right now. A lot of things happening in the orthopedic and industry as well, and excited to get deeper into the details here. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it looks great, and I guess we'll go straight into it, and we will touch base on the innovations and some of the research initiatives as well that you guys have from your side. It'll be interesting to get that perspective. But first things first, let's go across onto the background and career journey, get a bit of an insight from yourself, Billy. And I guess the first question I have for you is, could you provide us an overview of your career journey so far, how you got started in your field, and what's led you to where you are at the moment?
Absolutely. So a lot of people ask this. Everybody's looking like, how do you get into this industry? And I'd say I'll start off with there's no set way to get into it. There's a lot of different pathways into it. But I got my undergrad in marketing from Mississippi State, and I came home to Memphis. That's my hometown. And I struggled to find a job that I was passionate about. And I actually went to FedEx and threw boxes at night and loaded the planes up because FedEx they'd pay for your college, right? Yeah. And so I decided I'm going to go get my master's. And as I'm into my master's program, I met somebody from a company called Sophomore Danik. Had no idea what Sophomore Danik was. And they said, we have an intern job open. And so I went and interviewed for that job and had a great conversation. And they hired me. I worked 40 hours a week and as an intern and managed a vertebroplasty product line. So as vertebroplasty was being introduced to the United States. And so, that just turned into a lot of labs every weekend, learning with the surgeons, learning with the interventional radiologist. And that's really how I got started. But I came into Sophomore Danik about the same time Medtronic acquired Sophomore Danik, and it was a very entrepreneurial type company and a lot of innovation and really charismatic leaders, what I'll call the giants of the spine industry, were at that company at the time. And so those people shaped me. That's who I learned from. And I'd say the next 10 years of my career was serving more as an individual contributor, doing product management, and I was able to work in a lot of different areas of spine, whether that's interbody fusions, A-lifts, T-lifts, and PLIFs. Ultimately moved over to ACDFs and fusions in the cervical spine, but then did some cool things outside of the 510K world. So for those that don't know, there's a shorter path for some technologies to get to market through the FDA. There's other technologies that require an IDE study. And so I got involved in that with artificial disc, did some lumbar disc, did some cervical disc projects, helped commercialize the first cervical disc in the United States, as well as the second and the third one as well. And so that was a cool experience as well. Just learning market development. How do you create reimbursement codes? How do you create CPT codes and apply value to it? How do you get insurance coverage? And things of that nature. So that was really cool from a market development standpoint. But ultimately, that turned into more people management opportunities. And I'd say, halfway through my tenure is when I started leading people and managing people. And that was, and still is today, just an incredible experience, and one that I continue to grow in, moving more from where I was the doer and I was the one that had all the answers, and trying to move out of that, right? And not having all the answers and encouraging others to come up with the answers, to use the creativity, to put them in environments where they can, develop and come up with new innovative ways of doing things. So that's really where my focus is now, and has been for the last 10 years, 15 years or so, is developing others and growing others. I did spend some time doing downstream marketing, and that was a really fun experience for me for about 7 or 8 years, working a lot closer with the sales force, trying to understand, how we can replicate success across the sales force. You see pockets of people winning, and you got to understand, why are you winning, and what are you doing, and how do we share that with others in the sales force? And that's one of the best ways you can really grow, is just replicating success and creating those resources, creating that roadmap for other sales reps to follow. So that was a lot of fun. And now I'm managing, both upstream and downstream for our global marketing spine and biologics business. And so there's even newer skill sets developing there, in terms of how do we think 5 years out and 10 years out, and how do we take all these new technologies coming to the market and create value with them, and put strategies in place that will differentiate us in the future. So it's been a fun career journey, and a lot more to go. And it's been a blast. It's been an incredible ride. I think spine orthopedics in general, there's so much opportunity to do better and to evolve and innovate. It's just a great roadmap and a great place to learn and grow. So it's been fantastic.
Absolutely. And it looks like Medtronic's been a great place for you to grow as well, having spent nearly 24 years with them. We're moving through so many different positions, finally achieving a leadership position that's recognized globally as well.
It's great. I mean, it's, Medtronic is rooted in our mission, of extending life, restoring health, and alleviating pain. And it's something that's common across the entire team. And so people are all pointed in the right direction. We're all here for the same reason. So the mission is one. For me, the people is the second piece of this. I mean, we work with really great, like-minded people, and with our employees, as well as our surgeons and our customer partners. And then just passion, just having passion for what we're doing, and really being proud, to be involved in the industry, and the privilege of being able to help others is something special.
Could you share with us some of the pivotal moments or experiences that shaped your professional journey in this field then?
Yeah, absolutely. As I came into the industry and came into sophomore Danik, there were what I would call the giants of the industry. I mean, if we look around at all the CEOs, all the presidents, around the spine industry, orthopedic industry, many of them came from Medtronic. Many of them came from that sophomore Danik. So, I didn't come into this, knowing how all this worked, but I learned from the giants, right? And all the people that my mentors and folks that were in sophomore Danik at the time are now leading big companies, and they taught us the way, right? And they showed us a way to do things, and the way to prioritize your mission and why we're doing things, way to prioritize your customers, your sales force, and do everything you can to help them out. So it was just a great experience learning from those folks. There were other things for me, besides working with the giants of the industry. I think the patient side of this, that's what really pulled me into this industry. And the fact that we're helping people and giving people a better quality of life, that's a big mission for Medtronic, but it is across all of the medical device companies. I mean, we are changing the quality of life for people. And if you're having a bad day, keeping that mission front and center, it keeps you going, and so knowing that we could help people is incredible. And I remember patient stories. I still remember one of the first sales meetings, and we had Larry Linke there. He's a deformity surgeon, and talked about a patient story. This little bitty boy, he was 4 or 5 years old, and he had a really, bad, scoliosis, and was pushing on his organs and stuff. They did the surgery, straightened the spine out, and then the little kid comes out on the stage, and he's smiling and waving at everybody. And that's what I knew. We're making an impact, and we're doing something special here.
On that. Yeah, there's I guess our industry is one of the many industries, or should I say, one of the few really, that you can see the direct impact they have on your patients and day to day. And as you said, it warms your heart, and it is rewarding, especially in difficult moments. It just reminds you of your mission and what you're here to do and what you're achieving.
Absolutely. The only thing I would add to it, Sasha, is, the first time you go into the OR, the first time you go into surgery, and you see the team working and seeing everything come together. I mean, it's quite a production to treat a patient, when you see that in real time, it has an impact. And that's something we do with our new employees. That's one of the first things we want to get them to is you gotta get into the theater. You got to see what's going on to appreciate what's happening there. And that has an impact. I mean, I think everybody remembers the first time they go in the OR. And I still remember first time I saw the aorta and the vena cava, in an ALIF surgery, and just seeing it pumping there as the surgeons are working around those vascular structures. It's just an amazing thing. And it gives you a greater appreciation of all the work spine surgeons do, and orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons to pull these surgeries off. It's an incredible experience.
100%, absolutely. What would you say what skills or expertise would you say you've acquired along the way that have been instrumental to your success throughout your career then, Billy?
Yeah, for me, and I'd say for all of us in this industry, at least in the marketing space, right? There's a lot to launching a product. There's a lot to developing the product, to getting it through the FDA, doing the testing, creating clinical evidence and biomechanical evidence, and putting that sales strategy together. And there's so many ways you can fail at a product launch. And so I was fortunate enough over the years, I mean, well over 100 product launches I was able to lead and direct, and I failed every which way you can fail, right? And there's no set way to do this. We're still failing today. Things still pop up, and to me, there's no greater experience than that. The
road to success is failure, as they say. You learn from your mistakes, and it's the best way to develop it and innovate, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just, so having repetition and having that many cycles of product launches, and you just learn so many things in that process. So that was a big deal to go through those product launches and learn from them. It's helped me leading a team now, one, to make sure we, keep them off of areas that we know can be risky, and but also, bringing new teammates in to come up with new ideas and new creative ways to do it. Being open to that has been good as well. Other skills, I think, for me, it's having an appreciation of what's happening with sales and our sales force and the things they have to deal with. I got to lead sales training for a while, and did some different sales skills classes, and taught some of those programs. But then understanding what the sales reps are dealing with on a daily basis. It's not just sales. It's not just the sales call. They are actually, critical members of that team. There's things they're doing before the OR, in the OR, after the procedure. They're grinding and
constantly representing your brand, aren't they?
Absolutely. Just understanding and having an appreciation of what they deal with on the daily basis is critical. There's no way you can do a marketing job without having appreciation of that. So that's been a big learning for me as we've gone through the years.
Would you say that cross-departmental liaison across all stages of a product development and product launch has been super important to yourself then?
Absolutely. There's a lot of teammates involved in this. So, as you're bringing a product to market, whether it's regulatory, it's legal, it's IP, quality, manufacturing, engineering, there are so many teammates involved in this, and it takes a team to bring a product to market. Even getting input from the surgeons is a critical piece of it. How do you get their input? Understand the clinical needs that they're bringing forward, turning that into design inputs, and then at the end of the day, bringing a product to market that brings value and is differentiated and has an advantage over, alternatives that are out there. But having that team come together, with that one mission in mind is just a huge skill set and a need to bring a product to market.
Fantastic. No, that's a really great insight. I do appreciate that, Billy. I'm curious then. So what would you say drives your love for the orthopedic industry at this stage then?
So my love for orthopedic industry is, and especially my experience has all been spine, but we keep getting better, right? And I think that's just a great, attitude to have on life in general, your own personal philosophy, but spine surgeons, orthopedic surgeons, even neurosurgeons, they're constantly saying, how do we do this better? How can we be more efficient? How can we get better outcomes? How can we be more predictable? And so being involved with that mindset of improvement, even when you're doing great, how can you get better? I love that piece of it, right? So that's a fun challenge. you've got the, at the end, being able to help people. So you've got that mission in mind, that is very satisfying. And then there's a competitive nature to this. It's a highly competitive industry, and working with some of the brightest surgeons in the industry with this idea of how do we come up with the best way to do this and a differentiated way to treat patients, get better outcomes, is why I love it. And the only other thing I'd add to that, Sasha, is having like-minded people together, right? So surgeons are in that mindset. If we can get our internal teammates, our marketing, engineering, everybody knowing why we're doing this, and we're doing this to make better for people, it's something that everyone can rally behind, and you have kind of a common goal. So it's just a ton of fun.
Absolutely. And it's amazing what you can achieve as a team when the whole mission is aligned throughout everyone.
Amen. Absolutely.
Absolutely. You mentioned earlier as well that, of course, one of the things early stage of your career that was super important to you was the mentors and the circle that you've had. So I guess one of the questions I have for you is, could you discuss any mentors or role models who would you say have been key in influencing your career choices and providing you guidance?
Yeah, there's a ton. I mean, it's hard for me to pick one. I would, working with folks like Michael Demain was the president when I came in to Sophomore Danic, and then Pete Worley and Doug King and Jim Clore and Bill Martin. If you know any of these guys, those are some of the giants of the industry. Ori Berneau. There's just so many there that I've learned from. So all of them, taught me to prioritize the surgeon and prioritize the sales force and to do what's right, and really challenged us that we can do better. There's ways we can innovate. There's ways that we can evolve and continue to make better products, for the patients and get better outcomes. So learned a ton from those guys. I think as we started moving into, I was an individual contributor maybe the first 10 years of my career. Moving into leadership, I think that's where I really cherished a lot of what I learned from those guys in terms of being humble, being a servant leader, making sure it's not about you, and it's about the folks on the team and developing others, giving them the same experiences I had, that allows them to grow, and and then I think being open to new ideas. Right. And that's a key thing. It's a tough thing for folks that have been in the industry for a long time. We've always done it this way. I know the answer. I know how this works, but I'd caution anybody that thinks that way. Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've learned over the years is diversity, diverse opinions, diverse backgrounds, new ideas leads to creativity and innovation. And that's being open to that is critically important. And I'd start with being humble, and that's a lot of what I've learned from those early leaders. It wasn't that they had all the answers, right?
Yeah.
It was that they created an environment where those answers could come to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really great to hear. And as I said, even myself, I had a lot of mentors throughout my career, so it's hard to pick one, but you do pick up certain bits from each individual that make you who you are. And I guess you have these people to thank for as well, because they have developed your character, developed your career to the stage you're at now. And as you said, even to this day, as a leader, you're still using the learnings that you've had from them at the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's brilliant. Okay, well, I really appreciate you giving us the insight on the background and career journey there, Billy, and some really interesting information that you shared there with us, and I'm sure our network will appreciate that as well. One thing that I'd like to move on to as well is the current market trends. I'd really like to get your insight on this as well, considering you spent a number of years within the industry. First question would be, what market trends and opportunities are you currently noticing within our industry at the moment that you think may be worth mentioning?
Yeah, there's still a lot of focus on the implants, on the instrumentation. There always will be, and that's always been here. Is there's improvements we can make, with the widget, right? And things we can do better there. But there has been a shift, and this has evolved over the years to not just about the implant and the instrumentation, but now starting to pull in more enabling technologies to help, with the surgery. So over the years, it's been navigation is sort of where it started. Moved into robotics. Now we start seeing more planning happening, more reconciliation of our plans in the OR. So we're seeing this in orthopedics with the knees. We're now seeing it in spine. And now it's more post-operative management, or the things we can do with some of this new hardware and enabling systems to, post-operatively to track patients, to gather data. And it really comes into more of an ecosystem, right? I think that's kind of the buzzword you're hearing from the bigger companies out there. They're trying to put a comprehensive ecosystem together, where we can do things to plan the surgery, execute the surgery, and then to reconcile the surgery on the back end, and then get some data to feed the plans, for the next surgery. So data sets, patient tracking, clinical results, and then using that capital equipment has been a key trend that we're seeing across the industry right now.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. One thing I've noticed as well is digitalization and automation and the impact that's been having as well within the industry. I'm curious, how have you found it impacting the industry, and what opportunities do you think this will present to companies operating in that space as well?
Yeah, and you can get caught up in these buzzwords, right? Digitalization, automation, and machine learning, and AI, and they are buzzwords, and I think it's up to us to define what those are and really what the capabilities are. And there's many examples of it, but I think the best analogy I can give you right now to think about is a lot of us, fly, get on airplanes and we fly from point A to point B. And there was a point in time where maybe there was not a lot of planning that happened with the pilots from point A to point B. But now these pilots have a lot of data, right? So they know what the weather is, they know what the weight of the plane is, they know how much fuel they have. They're getting data from other planes in the sky where there may be some turbulence and which elevations they need to fly at. So they have computer systems and information that's guiding them on how to have the best flight from point A to point B. And that's the same with surgery. We're seeing it in orthopedics, we're seeing it in spine. We are giving surgeons data, and we are learning how we can use that data to make things more efficient in the OR. So we can make things quicker, we can make them more efficient, we can make them safer, more accurate. And then if we can look at, now you get into some of the more of the machine learning, if we can look at a patient that looked like this and was treated this way and had this outcome, and we had a database of 1,000 patients like that. So the next patient that comes along, now we can get more predictable. So just like a plane that may fly from Memphis to Denver every single day, if they've done it 1,000 times, they now know on the 1,001th trip, what does that look like? And can I be more predictable? What's the most efficient way? So, a long-winded way to, and trying to put an analogy to it, the more we can get data to predict what we're doing, and the more we can have enabling equipment that can help facilitate the execution of that plan in the OR, we can remove some of the variables. And I think that's the key thing. That's what surgeons are looking for, is how do we remove some of these variables and drive some standardization in the way these surgeries are performed. And if I were a patient, that's what I would want as well. Same as if I'm a passenger on an airline. That's what I want. I want to make sure my pilot is using the best data he or she has, to get me from point A to point B.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. And as you said, you may not notice the impact that this data brings straight away, but the more of it you have, the more you can predict the results of what you're trying to achieve as well. And I guess it will form part of the innovation that we're seeing at the moment in the industry too. A lot of companies are putting a lot more effort and focus in digitizing the data they have as a means of taking the surgeon feedback on board and improving their own products as well.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for that. And I guess just on the topic of innovation and research initiatives then, Billy, could you discuss Medtronic's approach to fostering innovation and driving research initiatives? One thing I've noticed is Medtronic has always been brilliant with this. So I'm just curious to see your own perspective on it and how you guys approach this from your side.
Yeah, our Medtronic's approach right now to innovation is, how do we bring things that give economic value, right? And so we can't just bring new innovations, new ideas that, for a higher cost without the benefit that's being there. So that's first and foremost, is we need to be bringing value to the surgeon, to the hospital, to the patient, to the insurance companies. and showing ways where we can remove cost from the system, and you can remove cost in a number of ways, right? So if we can drive efficiencies, if we can reduce sterilization, if we can improve accuracy, if we can improve reoperations, but there's so many opportunities there where you can innovate. But what's fundamental to that is you must be creating economic value. We're in a very crowded space, with a lot of competitors, right? And so that's the other thing we're looking for is how do we differentiate from, we've got some capabilities we can do that others can't, right? I mean, there's things we can do with our enabling systems, with navigation, with robotics, with small batteries, implantable batteries, and things like that that could lead to more information coming from our implants. So that's the way we're thinking. That doesn't get away from just the fundamentals, right? I mean, the instrumentation's got to be easy to use. It's got to be simple, and needs to be able to, yield the results the surgeons need in the OR. But then we can surround that more with an ecosystem, and that's really where the focus now is. How can we, put an entire ecosystem together? Not only helps you in the OR, but can help you on the front end as well as following your patients on the back end. And I think that's a big opportunity in the future. Is can we do better after surgery, helping surgeons, physicians manage their patients better?
Absolutely, no, I completely agree with you with that. And I guess that leads me to my other question. In terms of recent innovative projects or breakthroughs achieved by Medtronic, could you provide some examples of these?
Yeah, I mean, I'd stick to this ecosystem. We call it ABLE, and the ABLE ecosystem is a number of components involved, and it's a roadmap for us as we move into the future. In the next 10 years, we're going to continue to bring this ecosystem together and make sure we're driving connectivity. Right, and we need to have connectivity from the implants, the instrumentation they're using in the OR. It needs to connect to navigation systems, to robotic systems, and even to planning systems. So a big advancement for us was with Medicrea in the UNID hub, which helps with planning and sagittal alignment planning, uses a database to be more predictable on what kind of sagittal balance a patient may need, and ultimately it leads to a patient-specific plan. Right? Just like you're flying from point A to point B, here is your plan. And then we can create custom implants. And those custom implants can come in and really serve as a guide for the surgeon, right? They know they have to release the spine, correct the spine to a certain point. And once they get that rod seated, it's going to give them the sagittal alignment that they sought out in their plan from the front end. So within the OR, how can we help them with executing that plan with robotics and placing screws accurately, coming in with the custom rod, to give us the right sagittal alignment into the plan. There's a lot going into that. There's a lot more to come, but that's really what that ecosystem is. But then even on the back end of the surgery, we're looking at, how we can get more information, from the implants or from the patient, right? So a lot of companies are looking at wearables. They can give you data post-operatively. You can know how active this patient is. You can know what their baseline was before surgery, see the improvement after surgery. Those are some of the data sets that surgeons are looking for and track. But we're trying to automate that, right? And make it easier for the physicians, as opposed to a patient having to come into the clinic and ask them these questions. Can we give them that real-time data? Is there a way we can send data to that physician where they can monitor that patient? And then that can all feed right back into the ecosystem. It's a cycle, right? So that can come back around to a data set that can be used for more predictability and algorithms in the future. So that is really one of the best examples I can give you. And we're seeing it across the orthopedic industry, and you're going to continue to see it. And just a lot of cool technology coming in place to allow that to happen.
No, that's absolutely fantastic, Billy. And just on that as well, not only are you improving the surgeon and physician experience, but it's also great to see how that's going to impact the patient experience as well, because at the end of the day, they're going to be receiving a better treatment. So it's really good to see that. And it's always good to remind people that, of course, you're not only helping the surgeons improve their own performance, but at the same time, it has a knockdown effect on the patients afterwards as well, doesn't it?
You're exactly right. I mean, and just to take that a step further for the patient, if we can, help surgeons be more accurate, more predictable, and put these plans together, this technology can allow them to do less invasive surgeries, right? And so if we can do things more minimally invasively, recovery for the patient in the hospital is faster. right? And recovery for the patient at home or over the next month or so is much faster. So that's good for the patient, but there's other stakeholders there that helps as well, right? I mean, that's
Mm.
good for the hospital. We can, save them time, save them money by getting the patient out of the hospital faster. And it can help with insurance companies. It can help with profitability for the surgeon, hospital, insurance, and then patient recovery as well. So, and look, if you even think about just the operating team, what happens in that theater, there's a lot of things moving in there. If we can standardize some of that, and if we can have a plan and a roadmap, and everyone knows how we're getting from point A to point B, you start seeing efficiencies in the OR. Right. So if we can be more efficient in the OR, if you can save 7 minutes or 10 minutes or maybe even 30 minutes in the OR, that's significant. Right. And,
Yeah.
and then now there's benefits not only for the hospital and the staff, but that patient too, right? If we can do that procedure more efficient and less anesthesia, that's a win for the patient. So that's a big deal as well. So all these things, a lot of stakeholders benefiting from it, and a
Yeah.
lot of savings there for everyone.
Absolutely, yes. And I guess that leads me to ask, so what role would you say this collaboration with external partners or research institutions plays in your innovation strategy then?
Yeah, I mean, we can't do it without them, right? And one of the key things that I've learned over the years is, innovation. You have to partner. You have to partner with surgeons. We have to partner with the experts in the industry, with these research institutions, with large academic institutions. We got to get the right input into the product and into these ecosystems, so we understand the needs, and then we get good input on how to solve those problems and come up with innovative ways to solve the needs. But even from there, once you have a product, that's not enough, right? We've got to put data to it. We have to study it. We have to prove it. And that's what we're doing now. Like when we talk this ABLE ecosystem, we've got over 30,000 patients now that's gone through the entire ecosystem using, patient-specific plans, patient-specific rods, and robotic execution, right? And so the more we can study that, prove, these things we've talked about with efficiency, with time, with improved outcomes, hospital stays, pain scores, things of that nature. It's key, but we can't do it alone, right? And so partnering with academic institutions, external partners, societies, the orthopedic neurological societies that are out there, they've been huge partners with this as we've advanced, spine care, orthopedic, and neurological care, for these patients.
Fantastic. No, absolutely. Some really great insight to share there with you, Billy. Thank you for that. Um, Moving on from the innovation and research initiatives, one important thing that my network always likes to know about the people that will bring on board is what makes you, Billy. So let's touch base on a bit on the mindset and the personal side of things. So could you share with our network any specific mindset or mental strategies that have helped you overcome challenges and maintain a positive outlook? Because as we all know, our jobs can be very difficult sometimes, and it can be quite time consuming. And it gets to points in life where you think, "Oh God, right? How do I maintain a positive attitude?" And everyone approaches it differently. And so I'm curious, how do you approach this positive outlook, and how do you overcome these challenges yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I mean, I would start with just, for all of us, don't forget why you do what you do, and the benefits, the benefactor of this, which is that patient. And if there's people in the industry that aren't as close to the patient, right? Depending on your function and what group you're in, you may be in regulatory where you're not as close to the patient. I think for all of us, we've got to bring that story forward. They've got to understand the impact of the patient. I mean, very simply put, that's my motivation. That's our team's motivation. That's our company's motivation. And I'd say that's the industry's motivation, right? It's the same for the surgeons, same for the nurses, same for the hospital staff. We're all doing it for the right reason to help a patient. So that feels good, right? We're going to have problems along the way. We're going to have
Yeah.
back orders. We're going to have challenges. We're going to have quality issues that, are unforeseen and pop up, and we've got to manage through those. And those are not fun days, right? You're not going to have fun days. There's going to be stressful days. There's many stressful days for the folks in the field and having to manage, all these surgeries. So you've got to keep that patient front and center, right? And I think that helps you get through any of those challenging days. So that's the first thing. The other thing, and I talked about the product launches, and there's a lot of different ways you can fail.
Mm.
You can't be afraid to fail. right?
Yeah.
And so, I see the folks that do really well with this are folks that have been involved in team sports or, team activities where they've worked as a team and they've competed, right? And in competition, you don't always win, right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
You need to be prepared to fail, learn to fail, but learn to fail fast and then adjust and then make those adjustments, right? So learn from your failures and make adjustments and move towards winning. So that's big for me, and big for our team. And I'd say those are the top things for me. And trying to think what else here. I mean, mission focus, fail fast, and then you know just teamwork, right? Teamwork and making sure the team is all focused on the same thing. We got to make sure people know why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, it's as you said earlier, it's having the right support group around you, making sure that the people around you share the same mission and the same mindset, really, because you all drive each other. And all it takes is one person to be off that mission for it to have a knockdown effect on everyone else, isn't it?
It is, and that's where I think about the folks that may not be as close to the patient, right? And so one of the things we try to do as a team is get these patient stories and bring them forward, right? We need to bring them to our regulatory partners, or we need to take our regulatory partners to the OR. Let's get them closer to it. And I mean, it's a life-changing experience for all of us, that are closer to it, but it's a life-changing experience for them. And so once they see that and they understand it, anything's possible. You can move through mountains once they understand why we're doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. And it's super great to hear that you make such a push for the patient voice to be heard internally as well across all departments. I find that really great as well. How would you prioritize self-care then? Obviously, we all live busy lives, so we've got busy days of work. So how would you say you maintain a healthy work-life balance with all these demands from your career?
Yeah, it's the $1 million question, right? I mean, everyone asks this, and especially as they come in new to the career, or new into sales, or new into marketing,
Yeah.
younger in your career. It's been interesting for me. I mean, I started when 21, 22 years old, and no kids, wasn't married, single, and have worked this all the way through those big life events. And so there was a time where I was all in on the career, but then
Yeah.
there was a time where you start a family and you have kids coming, and now you have sports and date nights and a marriage and all these things that you need to maintain. So it's really important to figure out what that balance is. And so I've got a motto with my team, and just to sum it up, I tell them never miss a game. Right. And
Right.
so thinking more of your kids, but I think you could expand this even to more personal life and your family. But you should prioritize your family, right? And don't ever compromise that. Don't want you to get 20 years from now and look back and say, I missed all those soccer games, and I
Yeah.
missed all those basketball games, right? So prioritize it. And it's tough, right? Because you're going to have conflicts come up. And that's where it's nice to have a team and to help each other out and say, I really need to be at this soccer game. Can you cover for me? So that's something that I think is critically important. The other thing for me and what I experienced, as we started having kids and at the end of the workday, you've got baseball practice, you got to
Yeah.
feed them, we got to bathe them, we got to do homework, we got to do all these things. And so you get off work and you work for another 4 hours, and then you go to bed and you do it all over again. A little
Definitely.
secret for me, what I found was, and I'd really encourage everybody to tap into this, but there's a special time of the day before everyone wakes up, whether it's
Mhm.
5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., and you can have some time to yourself each morning to do whatever you need to do, to keep yourself healthy, moving, walking, working out, any of those things. But you got to get up early, and you got to have that quiet time, or physical time, to work out and things of that nature. But you can only have that if you get to bed early, right? So
Yeah.
that's the other thing that I really, especially at my age now, I cherish and I value. And so it's try to get to bed early. I try to preserve that time after work, for family, for dinner and activities. But get to bed early and get up early before everyone else, and then start your day. So critically important. And
Yeah.
this is something that we push with our team. You got to stay healthy, and this industry will eat you up. The demands of this industry will eat you up if you let it. And so you got to create some boundaries, and you got to understand where you're going to maintain that work-life balance. And last thing I would say is, and I push this with our team too, schedule your vacations, right? Like know where those milestones are in the year. For me at the end of the year, coming up on New Year's and the holiday break, that's a nice time to spend time with family. I try to do the same thing at some point during the summer, and maybe some intermittent vacations there in between. But you got to plan those times, and if you don't plan them, they won't happen. Right. And you need to be able to look forward to those things. So I kind of look at my year as in chapters. It's almost in quarters, as a lot of us are. But, you got to grind. Instead. That's right. But you grind through these quarters, and you need some time off, and you need to be able to decompress, and you got to schedule it.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost spending 12 hours a day in the office thinking, all right, I need to focus on my career, I need to do this, to do that. And then it gets to a stage where, as you said, as you grow within your career, you start developing a family, you start getting children, where that's where the benefit comes of having everyone within the same mindset and the same mission within the team, because everyone can support each other. Even here within our team, we've got a lot of people, families, and what happens is, as you said, you can finish work, go pick up your kids from school, take them home, feed them, clothe them, give them a bath, and then afterwards you see yourself back on the laptop, which is fine. But if we all got the same mission and we've got the same agenda, then we all can be flexible and we all can support each other like that, can't we?
But absolutely. Sasha, I'll tell you one more. And now with cell phones, right? I mean, work is accessible to you at all times, and it's tough, right? And I mean, I remember there's times in my career where like you couldn't get off. I mean, you were on it nonstop. I try not to look at it now, right? So there's a time into the evening where you set it down and I'm done with work, right? And you've got to create that time. If you're just always available, your family's going to feel it, right? So you've got to be able to turn that off. I even encourage our folks when they go on vacation. I've had a vacation where my phone got wet and it broke.
Yeah.
That's where I learned this. Best vacation ever.
Best vacation ever.
I was completely detached from work. And so that became a norm for me, right? When you go on vacation, you be on vacation, right? You put your phone down, you leave your computer at home. And look, if you can break your phone, you're going to have that'll create that discipline.
Certainly drop it in the water. That'll be great.
That's right. That's right. But I encourage that. I mean, it's, there's a time where you take vacations and you work the entire time. That's not a vacation. Right. You need to be able to cut away, and you need a team that can cover for you. You need a manager that respects that and understands the value in that and can cover for you as well.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all guilty of that to some stage, where we take holidays and then we're still on our phones answering calls or reaching out to people. And then after the holidays, we'll come back and we're not as restful as we thought we would be.
That's right. That's right.
You do need to find that balance and sometimes remind yourself, right, enough is enough. Take a break. You can come back to it afterwards fresh and then crack on from there.
It's a winning recipe. It works.
Exactly. Absolutely. Okay. So just following up from that then. So what would you say, what types of practices or habits have you cultivated then to promote this personal growth and continuous learning throughout your career then?
Yeah. I mean, I think first it was just be a mindset, right? I mean, you got to have a mindset that I need to constantly learn. Right. And so I've been in this industry a long time. I could have a mindset that I know all the answers and I have it all figured out. And it's called complacency. Right. And that's a problem. Right. You got to change that mindset. You'll never master this. Right. And if you ever get to that point where you think you have and you don't have that humility, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So you got to start with a mindset that I want to learn continuously, that I need to improve. We got all this new technology and all this stuff we talked about, and digitization and AI and all these things. I mean, you got to stay on top of this stuff, right? So how do you do that? For me, constantly you have to be reading and looking for, self-improvement books, leadership books, and staying on top of, things for your personal growth. As it relates to the industry, I see this all the time. I mean, we go to these industry meetings and, we have the booth and people are out there working the booth and stuff, but, they get breaks, right? And during the breaks, they're still hanging out at the booth, right? And I encourage our team, go to the talks, go listen to the scientific sessions, go get into the workshops, listen to what the surgeons are talking about, make sure you understand their problems, their challenges, their complications. That's where we lead to innovation and innovative ideas. So you got to stay up on what's happening in the industry. I think podcasts are great. If you can, as much as we travel, as much as you're in trains or planes and you have this downtime, don't be asleep on the plane. And don't be watching a movie on the plane. I mean, use that time to have your headphones on and tap into some great content and just learn from others. So other things that that we do within our team. Like first, we talked about getting into the OR, critically important. We prioritize this with our team. I mean, it's one of our objectives for as we look at each quarter, you must get in the OR, right? That is what you have to get there.
Yeah.
So just prioritizing that's critically important and very self-fulfilling. I mean, those are very satisfying days when you get in the OR. And the last thing I'd say here, we do this with our leaders. We have what we call lead sessions. So we call the sessions lead, and it's sort of a book review kind of thing, right? So we have one person bring in a topic, and they may bring in a short article focused on leadership, a concept, and then we discuss it. We discuss it as a team, and then we start sharing experiences, bouncing ideas off of it. Leadership is something that you will never master. You will never learn completely, and you can constantly grow. And so I think the more you can share with others, compare notes, share experiences, share best practices. You need to continue doing that from a leadership perspective as well.
No, that's fantastic. That's really great to see. Is that as I say as well? Surround yourself with people in a room that are smarter than you. If you're the smartest person in a room, you're in the wrong room.
100%.
Constantly got to innovate, and that's the best way of doing it. Making sure they've got the best circle around you. One thing that's been quite important, at least for myself as well, in terms of mindset and personal drive, is meditation and gratitude. I'm curious, Billy. With gratitude, what role does it play in your life, and how do you incorporate it in your daily routine? Because I'm sure you've got to remind yourself sometimes that you've got to be grateful for what you've achieved, especially within difficult days, as you mentioned.
Yeah, for all of us, it's a privilege to be in healthcare, and I think that's how you need to look at it, right? We are able to get closer to these physicians, to be involved in helping improve other people's lives. We should be thankful for that, and it's a privilege. It's something that not everyone gets to do, and we've got to take care of it, and we got to cherish it, and we got to respect it and be grateful for it. So I'd start with that. It's a privilege that we get to do this. And we say that all the time. That's one of our little taglines. We say we get to do this, and
But sure, you're changing a human being's life, aren't you?
yeah, I mean, one of the coolest things you could possibly do, right?
Yeah.
And so we push that with our teams. Just the fact that we get to do this. We had a Blue Angel pilot years ago at one of our sales meetings, and his whole talk was on one of the fundamentals of the Blue Angels team. Each morning, they talked about one of their taglines was, "I'm glad to be here." Right. And, it's really, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about the gratitude, the opportunity you have, and taking advantage of an opportunity that others don't have. Right. And you got to treat it specially, and be grateful for it. And I think that just introduces humility. And humility is the key thing to this, right? Be humble and be grateful, and you can do great things.
Absolutely. No, thank you for that insight. I really appreciate that, Billy. As one of the last things that I want to touch base on, Billy, I think is just in relation to my network is for people starting up in the industry, looking to take a similar career direction like yourself. What would be the one piece of advice you could give them?
For me, it's and I'm talking to a lot of these college kids right now that are soon to graduate. They're asking the same questions, and how do you get into this thing? Network, right? And don't be afraid to network and be bold. Go seek out these different leaders and different folks in the industry, and develop a relationship with them. But then take that even further and show action, show intent, right? So I'd say most of the people we hire, Sasha, we already had a relationship with. They were people that came to us. They're like, I want to learn more. How can I plug in? And definitely people within the company, have an advantage, right? They can go to a surgeon lab, on the weekend with us, but we have people outside the company as well that are developing that relationship. Can we come in? Can we shadow? Can we spend the day with you? Can we come to one of the labs? Can we interact with the surgeons? And that shows intent. It shows, that they really care, as opposed to someone that says, I'm just looking for a job. Right. And
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
I think the more you can network, and it can't be just pinging everybody on LinkedIn and saying, hey, I'm looking for a job.
Yeah, no.
It's got to be developing a relationship with folks, showing a true, genuine interest in what they do, and then trying to find ways that you can get more involved. And to me, that shows you care. It shows intent, and it helps develop relationships. And so when that position comes open, we're already thinking of that person,
Yeah,
right?
you're the
We already
first
have a
person.
relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about being proactive, being resilient, and being tenacious. I think those are three main things that
I
push you
love it.
towards the drive and show you that you are passionate about your industry as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, take that even further. I mean, there's things you can do on your own too. I mean, if you're wanting to get into orthopedics or into spine, there's things you can do to learn, right? I mean, you can go learn the anatomy. You can go pull up these publications. You can go understand what the industry trends are and just start reading and learning. And there's podcasts, there's books, there's so many things you can tap into. And that way, when you do get that opportunity to network, now you have something to talk about. And the other thing I would say is just be curious, right?
Yeah.
And curiosity. Some people are afraid to be curious, right? Because they want to look dumb. They don't want to look like they don't
Mm.
know anything. But one of the things I found in this industry, um, physicians love to teach, right?
Yeah.
And they would love for you to ask a question, even if it's a dumb question. They would love to help you understand it, and
100%.
they will teach. And same with all the people in the industry, whether it's a sales rep or a marketing person, et cetera. People have been in the industry for 20 years. They'd love to give you their perspective. So be curious, and don't ever sit on a question. If there's something you don't understand, or if you hear a really long medical term, you have no idea what it is, write it down.
Yeah.
Go ask somebody, go Google it, go research it, but don't ever let a question stay in your head, right? Just be curious about everything. Pick up every rock and get the answer for everything that jumps in your head, and you'll find that you learn a ton.
Absolutely, and I agree with that one on you, Billy. Curiosity is a very big thing, especially for ourselves as well. And one of the driving values that I use, for example, is you mentioned that sometimes people just don't feel comfortable with asking questions. Is what I say to people usually is get out of your comfort zone, because once you've done it once, you won't be uncomfortable again, and then you'll
That's
be
right.
able to hit that every single time. And if you live by
That's
that,
right.
nothing will make you uncomfortable again, because you're right. I'll do it once it's done. I'm never going to be uncomfortable with this again. So
And that starts with
curiosity.
that humility. You've
Yeah.
got to be humble. You got to say, look, I don't know the answer, but
Yeah.
what's important is I want to know the answer,
Yeah.
right? And when people know you want to know the answer for all the right reasons, I can't wait to give you the answer. I can't wait to teach you. I can't wait
Yeah.
to share this with you. And
We
it's a
couldn't be
wonderful
in a
thing.
better industry for this, Billy. As you said, everyone in the industry is happy talking about themselves and is happy talking and teaching you. You just gotta want it.
That's it. That's it.
Absolutely. Well, look, Billy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on my first podcast episode. Thank you very much. I do appreciate you giving us your time and giving us some insight on Medtronic and the innovations that you guys are driving within the industry as well. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Sasha, I appreciate the opportunity. It's great to talk with you, and you've been a great partner. And happy to, if anyone wants to reach out, network with me, and has questions and wants to go deeper, I'm happy to talk to anyone and be a resource for you as you guys navigate different opportunities in the industry. But Sasha, I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to doing more of these in the future.
Absolutely. Likewise, Billy, and I can't wait to have you on the next series.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.